Welcome back to the Rio All-Suite Hotel and Casino for continuing coverage of the World Series of Poker main event final table. 8 players remain as we move closer to crowning a champion. 8.3 million goes to the winner. We've got a pretty good seat right here next to the final table. I'm Marianella Pereira, joined by someone you may know as the Poker Brat, Phil Hellmuth, 13-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner and 1989 main event champion. Let's go to Kara Scott, who's with Mark Newhouse.
Thank you, Marianella. Mark, you came in as one of the 2 short stacks, so did you prepare yourself for an early exit?
I came in short, so knew this was a possibility, and I think I played the best I could, got in a coin flip, and lost.
It's been a long 3 months between July and now coming to the final table. What's the one big thing that you're going to take away from this experience?
I guess I'm just happy to have made it this far. Nothing other than that. Had a good vacation, and try again next year.
A well-deserved vacation for Mark Newhouse. Back to you, Marianella.
Thanks so much, Kara. Wow. Incredible action so far at this final table. Phil Hellmuth, first of all, can I give you a compliment? No hat. You're very dapper, and you actually arrived on time. What is going on?
Well, I mean, this is kind of a big deal here, Marianella. I mean, $8.3 million for first the World Series of Poker. I mean, every poker fan should be on time for this one.
Absolutely. You know, so much action so far. Unbelievable final table, and let's take a look at the leaderboard right now. Who's going out in top place here? Mark Newhouse. We lost Mark Newhouse, but JC Tran still on top with 41.5 million in chips. Benefield, the new short stack, 9.1 million. What are your thoughts so far on this final table?
Yeah, I mean, you know, one thing that's amazing to me is the Ryan Reese laid down ace-queen in this spot. And, I mean, basically what happened is that we had someone move up. Oh, wow. I'm forgetting names here. I'm dropping the ball. This is much fun. We had our young superstar,
Phil, don't drop the ball. Come
Benefield, move all in. And he moves all in for $8 million. And I think, as Antonio said, and a lot of us who are professional players said, that is an extraordinarily difficult laydown with ace-queen. And then, let's fast forward to later when Benefield actually had 10s and laid it down. These players know that the other players have strong hands, and it's not like your tournament at home. People know when they're strong, and it's pretty impressive that they've been able to fold these hands.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at another big hand between McLaughlin and Newhouse. Really big moment right here. Newhouse opens with Queen 10, and McLaughlin called in the big blind with 5s. The flop came Jack 7, 10, 2 spades. They both check here.
I like the check. It's pretty standard. Okay. Yeah. He checks in back position. Newhouse does with the 10 here. That's okay.
Right. You know? Turn of the 9 of spades. McLaughlin leads out for 1.2 million. Newhouse calls, and then the river comes a 5, and you know McLaughlin fires again here. What do you think about Newhouse calls here?
Well, here's the thing. I know that the math says it's a bad call here, but here's the thing. You have to take into account the fact that Newhouse knew that, you know, that basically he knew that McLaughlin was weak here, and he made this great call on the turn. And then what happens is, if you had the best hand on 4th Street, when the 5 comes, how are you going to lose this hand? Right. And it just so happened his opponent had exactly 2 5s. So I like the call, actually, despite the math.
And now, speaking of math, we're going to dig into the data here with the help of Billion Hand Database, which compares the current hand to historical hands. We can analyze the hand shooter action on a couple different levels: luck, skill, range, possible hands the opponent hand, or best action. So we're going to focus on range here. So the range that they could have had.
Yeah, and basically the math again says that when the $2 million is bet, Newhouse is supposed to fold a 10 here. But I like his call only because, again, he knew on 4th Street that his opponent was weak, and therefore how can a 5 help? So I think he made a really good call here, and I think that, you know, I think that a lot of people out there are going to disagree with this, but I'm going to support the call for white magic purposes.
For white magic purposes. Well, actually, the math says that 13% of the time, McLaughlin, I mean, complete air.
Right.
And 50% of the time, Newhouse is completely crushed here. So
That's
the
true.
math does not agree with you here.
Well, yeah, I know it's a really tough spot for him, but, you know, I mean, sometimes you have to go with your instincts. I think that he made his mind up on 4th Street that he was going to make the call, and then he went ahead and made the call. I actually give him credit for making a right call.
All right, a lot more with Phil Hellmuth. Still more to discuss as the players take a short break. When we come back, a closer look at David Benefield, former online star turned Renaissance man. Back inside of the Penn and Teller Theater here at the Rio. More poker on the way shortly, but first, a closer look at one of the more interesting characters at this final table, David Benefield. Once at the top of the online poker food chain, now a student who plays when the games are good. Let's take a look at the bio board. Benefield, 27 years of age, 13 WSOP cashes, born in Fort Worth, Texas. Coached high school baseball for one season. I also know he's a huge basketball fan. And he skipped the 2012 main event because he was studying in Beijing. You know, he's very adamant about continuing his studies. He's currently studying political science and Mandarin.
Yeah,
None other than Columbia University.
Yeah, I mean, Columbia University, pretty nice university. And I think Benefield is really trying to get some life balance. So I give him credit for that. A lot of the young players come in, and that's what they're looking for after a year or two in this game is balance.
Absolutely. David certainly has a wide range of interests, and one of them is traveling. We caught up with him in Vancouver while he was prepping for the final table.
Coming to Vancouver was primarily a work trip for me to hang out with some friends that are all very successful players. They're all better than me in certain aspects of the game. And I think part of the way that at least I got good at playing poker was hanging out with people that were all better than me in certain ways. Here in Vancouver, there's actually a lot of really good poker players. I'm staying with Jason Kuhn. Jason's an awesome tournament player, is one of the best. And he's also one of my best friends, so it's a really good situation for me. We've been working really hard on improving my tournament game.
Yeah, in order to get him ready to play his best at the November 9 final table, we figured he needs to know how to do a backflip. Seems totally relevant to his poker development.
Right, just run up and do it. Yes!
Always having someone around that you can discuss hands with or really try to progress, I think is a really good thing for getting better as a poker player.
I mean, David Benefield, I love the fact that he's really tried for this balance in his life, and that was a pretty impressive backflip that he made there,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what he needs to do now. He's at the bottom of the leaderboard. He needs to flip the script and find a way to get to the top of the leaderboard, and once he has chips, he's a different player. Once he has chips, I mean, his nickname is Raptor online.
Right.
He's a great
an online
player.
phenom.
He's an online phenom. If he gets a hold of some chips, he will know what to do.
Let's see if you can see that backflip. You know, stakes have raised since your '89 championship. A fist pump just isn't enough, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but a backflip, that's pretty out there. I love it.
Phil wants to see that. David Benefield currently 8th in chips with 8 players remaining. He's back along with the rest of the competitors right after the break. Stick around.
From Las Vegas, Nevada, we are just about set to return to action at the World Series of Poker Main Event Championship table. Welcome back. This final table telecast presented by Wild Turkey. Lon McCarron, Norman Chad, Antonio Esfandiari, Karis Scott inside the Rio All-Suite Hotel and Casino. We are now down to 8 players. The last hand before the break, Mark Newhouse's pocket nines didn't hold up. Ryan Reese with the knockout. And now it's time, Antonio, for the players to start making money.
That's right.
$945,000 for the 8th place finisher. And Norman, maybe like a little wake-up call, a little monkey off the back to get a player out.
Indeed. And we haven't seen anybody terribly out of line yet. All the plays have been pretty correct. We see some good laydowns. We haven't seen any stunning bluff attempts yet, and we'll see if it loosens up a little now.
That knockout by Ryan Reese has him in 2nd place with $37.8 million. The chip leader coming in, it's still the chip leader, J.C. Tran, with $41.5 million. But we've seen a lot of shifting on this leaderboard, and you do see now Newhouse's cash of $733,224 are recorded there as he is our 9th place finisher. Benefield, once again, the short stack.
1.1.
Farber, very solid player so far, does raise to $1.1 million. The blinds and antes remain the same as we took a break just halfway through this level. The blinds at 250, 500,000, a 50,000 chip ante. Farber's raised to $1.1 million. No takers so far. Amir Lehavet folds. Mark-Etienne McLaughlin with a quick muck. And Tran likewise. And so the opening raise from Jay Farber gets through. He's been playing just premium hands. Not sure if we're going to be able to see it here, but Farber doing what Farber does. Ace Queen.
Ace Queen last time for Farber when he raised.
The worst hand he's played so far is King Queen. And so his range is premium, pretty premium cards. But I like the way he played him. He continued to embed on the flop against JC Tran when it came 7 high board. So,
and of course, a lot of folding to Farber. They don't know exactly what he had there, but now 15 minutes have passed the delay. They know all the hands that Farber played early on.
Right. So they know he hasn't played a hand worse than King Queen. So I think that when he comes in opening a pot, they're much less likely to play against him without a premium hand.
There's two short stacks here. Brimmelhouse and Benefield used to play the short stack late in this event. Brimmelhouse was 25th out of 27 players when we started day 7, and Benefield was 27th out of 27 in chips.
Raise all in, a re-raise all in from Benefield. His whole stack now up for the taking should somebody want to try it.
JC, could you please show your card?
And Farber, I don't know if he's waiting for the dealer to get out of the way to fold, or is he thinking about it? I think it's more of a, you're in my way, Mr. Dealer. Getting an exact count on David Benefield's shove.
And David Benefield shoving with 17 big blinds left.
Oh, Farber's sitting on his hand here.
Why don't you take one of these off, right? 250 and 250, right? That's a 250 half million. Right, so you have 7.
Benefield was in shove mode early on at this championship table. He did double up. He then fell back. And now he knows he needs to get busy. $8.5 million is not going to win you a bracelet.
Yeah, and he also knows that Tran is opening light with a lot of hands, and so.
Did Farber call?
Oh wow, this
Farber
is not good for
call.
Benefield.
And he knows it. He turned around and shook his head. Ace King for Farber. Benefield shoves with King Deuce of spades.
Right, it's unfortunate for him because had Farber not woken up with Ace King, there's a very good chance he would have just gotten by JC there.
So we just got one player knocked out just before the break, and now a quick return, and David Benefield in serious trouble, dominated by Jay Farber.
And it's the second time Benefield pushed with the king, and the second time he was dominated, and will need to get lucky here to stay alive.
Benefield has spades as well, should they fall.
Well, spades fell for him last time when he was in this position. Let's see if he can make it happen again.
Raptor 517, as he is known online, looking for help. Here is the flop, and there's one spade in there, but it looks grim for David Benefield.
Benefield's best way out, of course, the deuce. He still could end up chopping his pot if they get runner straight.
It's also interesting to think about what the other players at the table are rooting for. They would rather have the chips go to Jay Farber versus Benefield.
Farber with the flush draw, but he's ahead. There is the jack of spades. He said, would you take the jack of spades, David? He said, yeah, I'd take it.
Well, a huge card for David Benefield, and that puts a smile on his face, and there's some hope.
So Farber with the straight, but David Benefield's still looking for the flush. And Farber called that card. So now David looking to get the spade flush again to double up. You see the outs at the top of the screen. He needs a spade. He doesn't get it. The deuce of diamonds will bring the 2013 main event to a close for David Benefield, who fought hard but just could not overcome being hamstrung by the short stack.
As Antonio mentioned, the other players at this table thrilled by that. They lose a player, they lose one of the best talents at this table, and chips go to the person, the amateur, who they might have the least respect for.
So an hour, 41 minutes of play, nobody knocked out, and now in the last couple of minutes of play, 2 players knocked out. David Benefield will collect a payday of almost $945,000. We wish him luck. He's stepped away full time from poker. But Raptor 517 always puts on a good show. Newhouse knocked out. His pocket nines didn't hold up. The flush this time did not come through for Benefield. We're down to 7. Welcome back to Las Vegas. That World Championship bracelet will not be on the wrist of our 8th place finisher. Kara Scott is standing by right now with him.
David, you came in with the worst situation of anyone at the final table. So is there any way that you can be pleased with coming in 8th?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be unhappy. I got it in with King 9 suited versus King Jack. Got lucky, hit a flush there. I should have been first one out, so I managed to stay alive and moved up a pay step. But I mean, you know, I'm a little disappointed, but I think I made a lot of really good decisions today. I think that King 2 suited hand that I busted with was the right play. I did a lot of work with math, and yeah, I think it was good. But you know, I'm a little disappointed.
Thinking back 10 years ago, you were watching Chris Moneymaker win this. It kind of sparked your interest in poker. So give me your final thoughts on having been here at the November 9.
It was a really cool experience. Granted, it was a little shorter than I had hoped, but you know, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad my family got to come out and support me, and it was just good to see everybody, and it was just a whole lot of fun.
Our 8th place finisher, David Benefield.
Congratulations to David on a fine performance, and that beautiful main event bracelet sitting tantalizingly close. Now 7-handed. Antonio, we start to look at a little different style of play as we go forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 less hands to get through every single orbit, and so I suspect the players will loosen up a little bit. Not a ton, but definitely some.
There's a millionaire barrier to be crossed with a 7th place finish, which is worth over $1.2 million. A 7-figure score plays into a lot of people's mind. Not a lot of people have a 7-figure score. Or 8.
Norman Chad, how many 7-figure scores do you have, or expect to have in 20 lifetimes?
Don't count the raise.
Well, I do the decimal. I don't know where your decimal point is, but I've had many with the cents thing involved.
Okay. JC Tran, still the chip leader, an even 40 million. Opens for a raise of 1.1 million.
And our 7 players remaining here. Interestingly, 4 of them have business degrees. JC in business management, Loosely has a master's in business, Reese in hospitality business, and Farber has an associate's degree in business administration.
Farber actually worked on Wall Street for about 6 months and said it just wasn't for him. Surprise. And we've got a shove from Mikhail Gremmelhaus. So highly educated championship table. And Mikhail with the weak ace will get through Tran's Queen 6 and without a call, and he'll pick up a few more chips.
So Tran is getting a little stubborn. He just opened with Queen 6 offsuit. He's been running over the table pretty good, picking up pots here and there. And so, you know, I'm not saying that's wrong, by the way, because if Brimmelhaus didn't shove with A7 there, he still would have picked up the pot. But Brimmelhaus, he's got some courage.
Yeah, A7, interesting shove, though Brimmelhaus is low on the leaderboard here.
Right, I mean, they're adjusting. They see their JC's opening very wide, and, you know, Benefield came over the top with King Deuce of Spades. Brimmelhaus came over the top with A7 offsuit. So players adjust as time goes on. And, you know, we talked about that 15-minute delay in which players are finding out exactly what their opponents had in key hands.
And it's a huge percentage of Brimmelhaus' stack. Raise to 1 million. And the raise from JC with a raise to 1 million. Farber does not have kings or ace king or aces. Sylvain Loosely now, another snug player.
Snug so far today, but leading up to this table, we definitely saw some opposite of loose.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
He's very tricky.
So at the top, you see the leaderboard running left to right. The eliminated players on the far right. The player currently in the hand in the yellow. Amir Lehavat opened with a raise to 1 million. And soon Loosely's name will be in yellow as well as he comes through with a re-raise to 2.5 million on the button.
So this is a significant portion of Loosely's stack. He had about 13.5 million to start the hand, so it's unlikely he's on a stone cold bluff here.
And the pay bumps are important, we know, to a player sitting out this hand right now, of Brimmelhouse, who says he makes no secret of the fact he's just to move up the pay ladder. Who knows what's in Luz Lee's mind as well? Is he happy with the 1.2 million? Not with so much more money ahead of you. I can't believe that.
So far, we haven't had that many 3-bets on this final table. I think this is only the third one. JC giving 2 of them with King 7. So out of 41 hands, only 3 3-bets is
all in for Leavat. He's got Luz Lee covered. Luz Lee would have to call all in. And the chip comes off.
No, he doesn't look too happy.
And that has been a sign of fold from Luz Lee and Leavat. Big hand again.
Luz Lee got a little ahead of himself there.
Leavat had pocket kings earlier, and he took down a pot there, and he takes it down there, and he got Sylvain Luz Lee to fold his ace-7 after an opening raise. Welcome inside our championship table booth. Lon McCarron with Norman Chad and Antonio Esfandiari. And I am still a little worn out, Antonio, from this first part of the championship table. It's hard to keep up.
I mean, a lot of big hands so far, some big laydowns so far, really some good poker playing.
Norman, you've been impressed with the play so far. As far as the players going forward, do the favorites change in your mind so far?
No, I think the favorites are the big stacks who can play well. And we know J.C. Tran, who is tricky, can play well. And I think Amir Leavat is going to be one of our favorites as we go on. We lost to 2 short stacks, no surprise there. And as I've mentioned earlier, no one's been out of line. We haven't seen any big bluffs called down. And we'll see if it, again, loosens up now that we're 7-handed.
Well, I hope you're enjoying the action on just a 15-minute delay here from the Penn and Teller Theater into your living rooms on ESPN2. Tomorrow night we will finish up this championship table on the flagship ESPN beginning at 9 Eastern time. Farber now getting a little loose with 9-8 of hearts, and he will take that pot as we look at our main event final table payouts presented by Wild Turkey. And you see the 2 payouts already. Mark Newhouse goes out in 9th. Benefield in 8th place, and now 7th place, worth over 1.2 million from that total prize pool of almost 60 million. The main event is a money-making venture for anyone who can make it deep. And these 7 players, the final 7 from a field of 6,352. And now Farber, the chip leader, with 39.1 million. Originally from the East Coast, actually from Doylestown, Pennsylvania. I guess I just played poker all day in Doylestown.
Well, he didn't stay in Doylestown long. he went to Santa Barbara, and he lived in Santa Barbara till he was 24. And he loves Santa Barbara. It's his favorite place in the world. And then he moved to Las Vegas just a couple of years ago.
He said he would love to find an excuse, find a way to get back to Santa Barbara. He fell in love with Manhattan as well when he was working on Wall Street. Brimmelhouse opened for a raise of $1,120,000 as the short stack, and now Amir Leavat, after Reese folded.
And he grew up in Israel and then came to Texas as a teenager. His father was looking for a job. He completed military service in Israel. He's an engineer. They came to Texas, which was not Amir's first choice, but he adjusted to Texas, and he ended up going to UT Austin and getting an engineering degree. Loves Austin.
So we had this dynamic earlier where Brimmelhouse opened for a raise, and Leavat re-raised him in the small blinds, and Brimmelhouse folded ace-10, if you guys remember that. And Amir actually had ace-3 suited. So this is exactly the same dynamic.
Leavat with the re-raise. There's that 3-bet coming into play, Antonio. 2.4 million. And Farber down there at the bottom of your screen, sharing secrets with the former chip leader. Farber nearly out on day 7 of the main event. Now the chip leader with 7 players left. Leavat with the re-raise. So McLaughlin gives it up. Back around to McKeel. And McKeel Brimmelhouse will fold. You're going to see it anyway. Leavat with queens. So Leavat, the one fortunate enough to pick up big pocket pairs. And as we mentioned, Jay Farber, the chip leader. You know, on a day 7 hand, Farber was all in with a draw, but was a statistical favorite to double through Fabian Ortiz, thanks to what Jay knew were so many outs.
Come on.
He says all in for almost 3.7 million. Newhouse folds. Ortiz postures up and makes the call.
Come on. So many outs. So many outs. He has 9s.
But now just one card to come.
The river card. One time! There's the club for Jay Farber. Farber finally hit a card that saved his tournament life there on the river. And here you go, the chip leader with 7 players left. I love this game, Antonio.
It's poker. It's really amazing that anything can happen in a poker game. I mean, Norman Chad has won before. Is this correct?
It was 3-handed.
Miracles do happen.
Against a nun and a car mechanic.
Reese with a raise to 1.1 million. Hold it around to JC. JC makes the call for 600,000 more from the big blind. Heads up now. Ran out of position. Sees 8, Jack 4, 2 clubs.
Check.
A check from Tran, and you see now the top 3 bigger stacks: 39 million, 38 million, 36 million. 2 of the 3 involved in this hand. Reese continues with 1.3 million.
Call.
JC wants to see a turn. Here it comes. Queen of spades.
You get a lot of information just on a bet call on the flop. JC's out of position, so you can pretty much take 2 pair out of his range. It's very unlikely he has a set, and so he probably has a draw or a 1 pair kind of hand. That's the disadvantage of being out of position. Your cards are so much easier to read than when you're in position.
JC checked. Reese bets again, this time 1.8 million. And when people play at JC like this, we've seen it a couple of times. JC is not too proud to give up a hand.
No, I mean, he's just really good at reading situations correctly. And so, you know, if he has a hand like 8-9 or even ace-8, it's pretty tough here. He knows that if he calls, he could be facing a potential big bet on the river. Certainly if he has just an 8 or any jack in his hand, he's making this exact kind of play. So I wouldn't be shocked if he has queen jack or king jack.
9 million in the river, 9 million in the pot. The river card, 5 of diamonds.
5 of diamonds changes nothing.
Don't say the 5 of diamonds changes nothing.
I read my own mind there.
Yeah.
Tran checks again. Reese seems bound and determined to keep the pressure on here. JC following his every move.
2.9.
2.9 million from Reese. Is it 2.9?
2.9.
Wow. Doesn't
So
seem that worried
JC
about it.
clearly has 1 pair. I think if he has 2 pair, he's going to call a lot faster. He could even have ace jack, or he might have hit a queen on the turn. I doubt it.
There is a call. Ace queen, ace queen. And they will chop this one up.
I don't think they should have chop pots. There should be a possession arrow like they have in the NBA. Chop pots are no good for us.
You need 9 directions for it to flow around. But JC Tran, the chop pot reflected in his glasses. Let's go down to Kara Scott right now. She seems to have garnered the worst seat in the house. Kara?
See, usually when we talk about nosebleeds in poker, we mean those big high-stakes cash games that our 8th place finisher David Benefield knows so well. But right now, I'm up in the nosebleeds with Nick Coven, who came all the way from Atlanta. You must love poker to be here. Wait to see this final table and sit right here.
Yes, ma'am. We came in late, tried to find some comfortable seats. Just happened to be at the top of the building. So we're enjoying it, though. We're enjoying it.
Can you see very much from up here?
We're watching the screens a lot, but actually we're watching the players' expressions and hearing all the noise. It's unparalleled. We like it.
So who are you keeping your eye on? Who do you like down there?
We like JC. We're watching a little JC, trying to figure out some of his moves. I plan on being in here next year. It's my little secret. So.
Watch out next year. It'll be Nick Coven at the final table. Back to you guys.
All right, we'll get some bio information on it.
They talk a lot.
We will certainly be happy to have him join us at the championship table. JC Tran and
more water.
Did you like it when I went to roll over my hand?
Tran
Did you like it when I went to roll over my hand like this?
Second.
I thought it was big.
That's what I'm saying.
Until I saw the ace. I saw the ace first.
Oh, okay. I should have grabbed the chips back.
I was like, oh, he's got it.
I should have grabbed the chips back, stacked them in my chat, roll over the queen first.
Slow big kick, you know.
The slow roll chop.
Roll over the queen first and just say send it.
And then grab my chips and stack them back up.
And say send it.
Action on Ryan Reese.
So that chop pot was between the best player at the table and the best player at the table.
Reese opens for 1.1 million. Basically, Reese, Tran, and Farber are your chip leaders here, 7-handed. Amir Lehavat has been picking up some big hands recently.
Amir moved to Texas, as I mentioned, when he was a teenager. He said there's a big difference between school English you learn in Israel and Texas English.
Raise 2.5.
Hey, Amir, there's a big difference between school English you learn in America and Texas English.
Lehavat with 3-bet. Talked to Amir during the break. I said, you having fun? He just kind of smiled and said, how can you not have fun?
Well, another 3-bet is fun for him right here, Antonio. Does he have another big hand?
I mean, well, we'll find out, but we can see clearly that there's been a lot more 3-betting as soon as we got 3-handed. And Marc-Etienne McLaughlin on the button here.
And not going anywhere quick.
No, I mean, you know, when you put in the 4th bet, it's very powerful because it's very hard for your opponents to continue. You know, even if Amir has a hand like ace-queen suited or pocket 9s, I mean, it's really hard to call and play this pot out of position against Marc-Etienne.
And the theory being that every hand that enters into the pot should be having a stronger hand than the previous caller, as it were.
Well, yeah, of
that's
course.
the theory, yeah.
And so, yeah, so here we go.
4,750,000.
McLaughlin, 4 bets to 4.75 million.
That bet should clear out the shoe clerks and crumb bums.
How about our chip leader, though?
He doesn't look like a shoe clerk or a crumb bum.
So there it goes.
McLaughlin is capable of cold 4-betting light here, just because he knows his opponents are under incredible pressure. I mean, if Reese is sitting on 2 jacks or 2 queens, how does he like his hand? You know, it's not the greatest spot to be in. So even with ace-king, what does he want to do here? He wants to re-raise? I mean, oh, wow.
Wow, look at this.
Wow,
Ryan
look at this.
Reese with a 5-bet.
11 million.
11 million. Lehavat gets out of the way.
So I think it's very unlikely that Reese is light here. I think he has super premium almost 99% of the time. He did it pretty quickly. I think he's very confident in his hand. Probably has kings.
And McLaughlin gives it up. Ace-king for Reese. Ace-10 for McLaughlin goes into the muck. And Ryan Reese had the hammer. And he pulls in a very nice pot to take over the chip lead at this championship table, coming your way from the Penn and Teller Theater in Las Vegas. 2 players down. Who is going to be the one holding that bracelet at the end? Welcome back to the 2013 main event final table. It has been a very active final table. We saw Amir Lehavat river trips, but he had to hand the chips to McLaughlin, who rivered kings full. We wondered if we would ever lose a player tonight. Mark Newhouse got it in good with pocket nines, but Ryan Reese took him down after flopping a king to be our 9th place finisher. David Benefield had moved up a pay spot. He got it in bad, couldn't river his flush, knocked out by Jay Farber, who is now the chip leader, 7-handed at the Penn and Teller Theater. And we talked about, you know, it's subjective. You know, who is the best player? Well, J.C. Tran, we thought maybe the best player coming in. How will he perform? And then you look at the past best players to begin a championship table and how they finished. And so far, Tran living up to his billing, I would think, right, Antonio?
Yeah, I like his style. He's avoiding playing big pots, and he's using his chips and his position, and he's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing.
Take your anties back, guys. Take your anties back. You're good on this hand. You're good on this hand.
You see the time left in the level. Any surprises for you, Norman, other than you don't have fewer players?
Yeah, I'm still surprised Phil Ivey got knocked out by Darvin Moon in 07. He was the best player, and I've had to live with that for several years.
JC, I got you. We believe you.
J.C. Tran.
It should have worked.
One of the big stacks at the table. But it is Ryan Reese who is the biggest stack at this table. After his 5-bet got Mark Etienne McLaughlin to fold just before the break.
It has been a hot potato with the chip lead. We've had 4 chip leaders here already. JC started as the chip leader. We've also had Jay Farber as the chip leader. Lehavat was briefly the chip leader, and now Ryan Reese with 45 million.
That is a high point for any of the players so far. That stack of Ryan Reese. Reese open raise to 1.1 million. Sylvain Loosely in the big blind made the call for 600,000 more.
Yeah, Loosely with just about 20 big blinds left.
So 7, king, deuce.
Buddy, I'm not gonna
check by Loosely.
It was all stainless.
Sylvain Loosely with just 10.8 million.
Came out a little wide. They looked at it, so they found this one. This is cool.
Reese bets $1.3 million.
Your band goes well with your color.
So back on Loosely now.
And black goes well with white gold. And
Loosely, living in London. One of his roommates is the great poker player Bertrand Elke Gropelier.
And Loosely will fold to the big stacks of pressure. He was dominated. Good fold by Loosely.
He was dominated, but Reese really missed the flop, and so in that spot, had he put in a raise or just called and led on the turn, he would have won. But given his stack size, he simply cannot do that, and so I think the hand just kind of played itself.
Reese, a hospitality business major at Michigan State, not being very hospitable there. And of course, that's not the name of the game here. Reese now with almost 47 million as we get ready to play hand 47.
Right, and we've seen Reese play selectively aggressive leading up to this final table, and so I suspect, given that he's got the pretty big chip lead, we'll see a little bit more of him coming into more pots.
Reese says it's good to be king. Keeps the pressure on.
1.1.
1.1 million open raise under the gun from Reese. Well, J.C. Tran gives it up, as does Farber. You may notice the players have shifted around a little bit relatively. They are still in the same position to each other, but just to get them a little closer, you see Farber has moved over and closed up the empty spots in the middle of the table, vacated by Benefield and Newhouse. Hence the different look a little bit. Loosely folds. Now Brimmelhouse, the short stack at the table with 9.2 million. And that's a call.
We've seen him do this with all sorts of hands leading up to this final table, so he could really have anything at this point.
7 deuce 10. Brimmelhouse checks out of position.
Brimmelhouse does like to play tricky, but again, he's now in a straitjacket with the short stack.
That's 1.3 million.
Chip leader with position does what they should do. There's the bet and the fold. Reese with pocket fours. Brimmelhouse missed the flop and cannot afford to carry on.
And we just had 2 really good examples of chip leader versus shorter stack and taking control and just continuation betting on the flop. I mean, when you miss the flop and you check your opponent, you're just done with the hand. And those were just two great examples of position and chip power.
We hope you're enjoying the 2013 World Series of Poker main event final table presented by Wild Turkey from the Rio All-Suite Hotel and Casino and the Penn and Teller Theater. Lon McCarron with Norman Chad, Antonio Esfandiari, Kara Scott. We are 7-handed. We will crown a champion this year's World Series of Poker main event on ESPN tomorrow night beginning at 9 Eastern. The chip leader beginning this final table, J.C. Tran, opens for a raise to $1.1 million. Loosely, one of the short stacks, folds. House, the short stack, folds. The big stack, Ryan Reese, likewise. And Leavat had given it up under the gun, and Tran with a weak ace had the best of it, I guess, and he'll take that pot. J.C. Tran will just peck away, peck away.
But I mean, he's, you know, even though Reese has overtaken him in the chip stacks, he still has position on Reese, which is huge. So, you know, 5 out of 7 hands, he still gets to act after him on every single, no, 4 out of 7 hands, he still gets to act after him.
Position is the name of the game in No Limit Hold'em. So Jay Farber, who had held the chip lead briefly, back down into 3rd place.
Beep, 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 beep. Here he comes.
Farber opens for $1.1 million. Now he did this with 9-8 of hearts once.
Right. No, I mean, he clearly knows that everyone knows he's been opening pretty tight. So I suspect that his coaches are advising him to start loosening up a little bit. He also understands the dynamics of 7-handed are different. And so he's definitely a smart enough guy to adjust accordingly.
And the beauty of this game is you have to remain constant because of the blind structure. I mean, you cannot sit still. Sitting still is moving backwards. A call from Amir Lehavat from the big blind. Jack deuce 10, 2 clubs.
Check.
A check to the pre-flop raiser. The cards, as you see the graphic, different from our Tape Tuesday night shows. We cannot show you the whole cards until the hand is over, so we hope to reveal them if the players have shown them to us, and indeed.
And Farber is adjusting accordingly. I mean, he just opened with 9-8 offsuit, so credit. Got to give credit where credit's due.
He followed up with a gut shot, and he takes down the pot. Jay Farber picking up chips.
Is that watch a watch, or is it a tattoo?
I think it's a tattoo.
And Combat Panda with the bulletproof vest. That's really what got it started, is they put a bulletproof vest on the toy Panda at home, and it grew uncontrollably. And so now we have a Combat Panda, and there's I think the original version sitting on the table here.
The person on the left of the Panda is Dan Blazarian. I don't know if you know him or not, but the man loves his guns, and he actually shot me one time. He put a bulletproof vest on me at a party and shot me with a gun. I kid you not. It's on YouTube. Anybody near that man should be wearing a vest at all times. He is the legend of all legends.
You had to agree to it.
Of course, I let him. I mean, he's a former Navy SEAL. I felt safe.
Folded to Amir Lehavat.
And this is a really interesting spot because you know your opponent in the big blind does not like to fold. He's also crazy and aggressive and likes to see flops. So you're less in tune to try and steal his big blind, but that does not stop our man.
1,300,000, 1.3.
$1.3 million from Amir. McLaughlin covers his cards with a chip. And that's the first step. No, he thinks again about it. Lehavat getting a little out of line. 9-7.
It's funny because it's not really getting out of line, because a lot of times your opponent just has, you know, total air, and when he does, you just pick up the pot right then and there. So you just kind of got to go for it sometimes. And there's some value in 9-7. I mean, you can make a pair, or maybe a straight if you run good.
Fourth place right now for Amir with an even 25 million.
1.3 close. 1.3 away.
7 players. One of these finalists will be the 2013 world champion of No Limit Hold'em. We'll find out tomorrow night on ESPN. Daniel Negreanu, in the final event at the World Series of Poker Europe this year, took down a bracelet, and that sealed his Player of the Year title for this year. He won the first World Series of Poker Player of the Year title, and now the only 2-time winner of that title.
Twice in 10 years, that's impressive. He's doing something right. We know he eats right.
Oh.
Well, he doesn't eat meat. I don't know if that's right, but you know, to each his own.
It works for Dan.
I like my vegetables, but I like my meat. And this is twice we've seen the button fold to the small blind.
Small and big blind in for the minimum. 10 ace jack, 2 diamonds. McLaughlin out of position again, jousting with Tran. He checks.
Check.
Free turn card. Another ace.
It's unlikely either opponent has an ace just because it was limp check pre-flop, and definitely given the action on the turn. So if either player has a 10 or maybe a jack in their hand, they probably have the best hand.
Check.
Check, check. King deuce against queen deuce, and the king will play for McLaughlin, and he will take down that challenge against the bigger stack. The next payout is over 1.2 million. That is plenty to smile about at this championship table. These players well on their way to fame and fortune. The 2013 World Series of Poker is presented by Wild Turkey, bottled but never tamed. Please drink responsibly. And in part by the WSOP online store Dealt by Lids. And WSOP Full House Pro on Xbox 360. Download poker's most authentic experience. In the Penn and Teller Theater, 7 players remain. Lon McCarron along with Norman Chad, Antonio Esfandiari, and Kara Scott, bringing you this action virtually live tonight on ESPN2 around the world. And our chip leader right now is the youngest player at this table, 23-year-old Ryan Reese. Mikhail Brimmelhouse, the short stack, just shoved all in for almost 7.6 million. As his chips were leaking away quickly as the blinds came around a little faster now with just 7 players. So now the chip leader, Ryan Reese, with a decision. Brimmelhouse shoved under the gun, first player to act.
6.7.
He opens all in.
And the position that you go all in from makes a really big difference, because now you have so many more hands to get through
7.5
versus if you're on the button and you only have 2 hands to get through. And so Reese is obviously taking this into consideration. It's tough if Reese has a hand like 2 8s or 2 9s. I think
call.
There's a call from Ryan Reese. Now there's action behind.
Right, that's always something that you have to take into consideration. What if someone re-raises me now behind? So I think Reese could easily have a pair of 9s, pair of 10s.
Nobody else wants to venture in. And it's pocket 9s for Brimmelhouse. Reese with ace queen this time of diamonds. Of course, he ran down the 9s earlier with Mark Newhouse with ace king. Mikia's girlfriend hoping that her boyfriend and father of their new child would be able to stick around a little longer.
He's been a good flipper so far. Can he do it again?
Brimmelhouse in almost the exact position Mark Newhouse was against Reese. And now Brimmelhouse hoping his pocket 9s hold up.
Here's the flop. Reese trying to catch something. And there's nothing. 6-5-4. Good flop for Brimmelhouse.
Well, that moment when you're all in and the flop is coming and 2 overcards can destroy your dreams is so brutal.
Brimmelhouse still on the edge. Still could be knocked out in 7th place. He cannot sit easily. There's an 8. So that brings a chop. Well, no, then the 7 would make Brimmelhouse a higher straight. So no chop. You see the outs for Reese.
Only an ace or a queen will end Mikhail Brummelhaus's day.
Can Mikhail hang on? Yes, he can. The board pairs. Mikhail Brummelhaus with a double up to over 16 million.
7-5-2-5.
Well, that really evens out the field a little bit more. Had Reese won that pot, he would have been the overwhelming chip leader.
So now we have 3 stacks very close to each other at the top. And Brummelhaus now with some breathing room. He now has 30 big blinds to work with.
Sylvain Loosely, you see, with just half the stack of Brummelhaus, our 7th biggest stack and short stack at this 7-headed championship table. Sylvain Loosely has been pretty quiet so far. Brummelhaus prepping for this championship table by playing a simulated final table. Got a lot of help in the Netherlands, in between changing diapers, I'm sure, and so far he has managed to hang in there and move up the pay ladder.
He says there were only 2 hands in the main event he didn't play correctly, Antonio. I find that hard to believe. I mean, sometimes I misplay 2 hands like in a minute. Only 2 hands in the whole main event that Mikhail Brummelhaus didn't play correctly?
I mean, that's hard to believe. Yeah, you know, you play so many hands to get to where you are. Yeah, I don't think anybody plays that good.
Let's fucking go.
Well, except for Phil Hellmuth, of course. And luckily for all of us, there's luck involved. You know, I've used that 85 times before, but it still feels so good. But how could he actually say that?
It still resonates.
He actually said if there was no luck, I would win every single tournament.
All in.
Loosely now shoves. After Tran open raised, Loosely 3-bets all in.
17 big blinds left for Loosely.
Now a key moment for Tran. No, he does fold his queen-5. Loosely king-queen suited, shuffleable hand.
This is becoming a trend for J.C. Tran. He's opening, and people are just coming over the top.
Well, you thought maybe that would be the case between him and Benefield, but he's getting it from all around.
He's getting pushed around all over. But I mean, it's kind of like the hand is playing itself. I mean, he's supposed to be opening a lot of pots, and if anybody with a shorter stack has anything reasonable, they're supposed to come over the top and go all in. So it just is what it is. You know, Norman is who he is. He can't help it. He just is.
For that.
I'm here, Antonio. I didn't go to the restroom. Please.
Loosely with 10.5 million, but still the short stack. Brummelhaus, the next shortest stack at just over 15.5 million. Loosely folds. Brummelhaus in the small blind with the big stack. Ryan Reese.
Yeah, this is never a good spot to be in.
Raise 1.5.
No, Brummelhaus will take a shot at the big stack, and Ryan Reese is one who would just call to stick around and see it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hands he can take to see a flop. There's also a lot of hands he could 3-bet because it really puts Brummelhaus in a tough spot. So I think it's more likely we'll see a 3-bet or a call than just a fold, unless he has absolute air. But even with a hand like 5-6, he's not going anywhere.
Ryan Reese
raise 3.2
with the raise, the 3.2 million as he repops it.
Right, so now it's really hard for Brummelhaus to just call and see a flop and play this pot, play this hand against the chip leader out of position. And so I love this 3-bet.
This is where
all
this
in,
all in a call. Aces for Ryan Reese. He got Brummelhaus to commit with pocket 9s again.
Very bad luck for Brummelhaus.
I mean, that's just unfortunate. If you have pocket 9s in a small blind in this kind of situation where the blind's so high, you kind of just have to get it in.
Well, the pocket 9s last time were all in for Brummelhaus, but that was against ace-queen. Now he's a 4-1 underdog to stay alive against Ryan Reese.
Antonio, you thought that earlier hand played itself.
Yeah. Both players are very happy to get it in.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Especially Reese.
Mikhail Brummelhaus now looking for some more magic to stick around at this championship table. Ryan Reese over with his cheering section with the pocket aces feeling very comfortable. A 4-1 favorite to knock out Brummelhaus in 7th place.
Brummelhaus, the first player from the Netherlands ever to make the final table, in deep trouble.
4-7 king. Status quo.
And there's no runner help here for Grimmelhouse with straights or flushes. He's going to have to hit a 9 and a 9 only on the Turner River, or he is out of here.
Ryan Reese on the edge of retaking the chip lead. Mikhail Grimmelhouse on the edge of going out in 7th. Deuce of diamonds. One more card to come, perhaps in Mikhail Grimmelhouse's main event. Ryan Reese trying to hang on. No, there's the one time from Grimmelhouse.
And this is the best time to ask for it. He's down to a 2-outer. Grimmelhouse has to have a 9.
The river card is the 7 of hearts, and that will do it. The brand new father, Mikhail Grimmelhouse, made it no secret he was in for the big score. He began in 7th place. He leaves in 7th place. Perhaps not the payday he wanted, but a very fine one indeed, over $1.2 million. And Reese indeed is the beast, the chip leader with nearly $56 million. We are down to 6 thanks to the pocket aces of Ryan Reese knocking out Mikhail Grimmelhouse, who could not overcome the best hand in poker. Come on back, more to come.